Hi, my name is Toke Søltoft, and I'm the AGS Director for Seequent. I will here demonstrate Views, which is the new tool for processing and visualization of data and models in Workbench 6.6. Views consist of different views depending on where you are in your workflow. So there will be specialized views for processing of data, for reprocessing, for visualization of results, and for looking at auxiliary data. I will go through the different views from a workflow perspective. So I will start with data processing. So if you have a data node and you click the show and edit, you will open views and the data will automatically load. So if you look here to the left, you'll have the tree. This tree will save the views you have created. So you can see here we have a data view, which contains the views of the different data nodes you have. A model view, a data model view, and an auxiliary view. The one we're looking at now is the data view. As default, it consists of two plots with data, one with raw data and one with average data that you have after you have processed with the auto processing tool. To the right, you have two what we call sounding plots. So you can select some data and go in and look at the individual sounding, also for processing. At the bottom, we have an auxiliary plot where you can display different information you have imported from the instrument or from the that has been recorded. So, for example, here it shows topography and speed. You can go past that and you can go in and say, I want to look at current or I want to look at temperature. You have processed altitudes and GPS information and so on. So everything that has been imported with the data of auxiliary information, it can be displayed here. And it's good to look at because the change of altitude will have an effect on the data and the level of the data. So using this also for looking at when you do processing of data. At the top here, we have two tabs. One is the View tab for adding or opening views. You can export all these plots either individually or one big one into bitmaps. You can save all the settings and setup you have made and load it again. And here we have some line plots and model parameters. I will come back to these when we have some results to look at. Then we have the Edit tab. It has the navigation pane with select, zoom, and so on. We have some special tools for the AOX plot. So it is possible to say I want to see the full extent of the whole flight you have down here because it can give an overview of the time range or the distance of the full data you're looking at. And you can go in and say I want to zoom into this area in the data plots, and the data plots will go into the gray area I've selected down here. Next, we have the data processing tools. So when you're working with manual processing of EM data, of course, you can select some of the data. You can say you want to disable it, and they will be turned gray. It's possible to show signs of the data to look if there's any negative data that needs to be removed. Or you can say this data looks a bit noisy. I still want to keep it, but I want to give it a higher error so it can move more in the inversion. And there you'll see it has higher error bars. This I have done now on the raw data. It's not going to be applied to the average data before you press save or update edits. So now you can see down here the things we removed is moved on the average data, and the higher standard deviation is also added to the average data. We have a buffer option. So it has some arrows and it moves with a certain buffer interval. The buffer intervals are seen over here. It's set to 5 minutes with a 10% overlap. So it's easy to go forward and back 5 minutes at a time. You can also click the buffer button and you can see an overview of the full range of data. And if I want to go back to the beginning, I can just click here and press OK. And the plots will go back to the start of the data. If the data has line number information, there is a drop down where I can select going to a specific line, and you can easily go to the next line of data. One thing that is really good with views is that if I minimize it a bit, it is always synced or integrated with the GIS interface. So if I remove the boreholes over here. So now you can see there is a red dot right here. And when I move the mouse or hover it above the plot, the red dot will move along with it. So you always have an idea about where you are on the GIS interface. And it really helps you when you're processing data, because if it looks noisy and you have some maps with information about roads, power lines, and so on, you can go in and say, well, this is a coupling, you need to remove it, or it could also show you that it might be a geological feature. So everything in Views is integrated with the GIS, so you always have your location on the GIS interface. Going back to Views, the last thing is over here. This is the whole settings list. There is settings for each plot you can change, and again, these settings will automatically be saved for you. You can change the buffer interval overlap. You can sync the data plots. They are defaultly synced, which means when you move the buffer, both data plots will move together. You can also click it off, and then you will only use the buffer on the highlighted or the active plot. The active plot is seen by a a blue square around it. It's also possible to say that the AUX plot should move along with the data plots. So there is a sync AUX plot too, and then all three plots will move together. There is a color theme you can choose from. We have a standard colors you can see that has different colors for each time gate. We have one called fire that is a red to yellow gradient. We have water that is green to blue. And if the user wants to, they can actually go in and define each color as they want to. That's the general settings we have. Then we have settings for the data plots you have over here. It's actually possible to add more plots to it. If you have a really big screen with a high resolution, or you work with a vertical screen, you can actually have up to 4 data plots in one go. You can also only show one if you want to. You can change what data you're looking at. So right now I'm looking at channel 1 raw data. I can easily go down and say I want to look at channel 2 raw data down here. And so you can change what data you're looking at on each plot. You can easily change the unit from the VDT to apparent resistivity if you want to. And you can change the range of time gates you want to look into. If I only want to look at the 21st, this would be it. Or you want to look at all of them like this. You can edit the axis. There's an edit button. You'll go into the axis properties that is known in Workbench. There's not new changes here. It's the same as before. You can also access the axis by right-clicking and press axis properties. Then we have the sounding plots over here. There is settings for these two. Again, nothing. They are pretty simple. You can change from apparent resistivity to VDT. So it's mainly the units you can change, and the same thing. You can right-click and change your axis. The AUX plot at the bottom. You can turn on and off what you want to see in this drop down at the moment, or you can change your axis type. The AUX plot has one special feature. If you're working with airborne EM data, and you have, of course, the altitude information, then you can put on, for example, the GPS altitude, and you have one is called user altitude. So if you have areas where the altitude information from the instrument are noisy, let's see if I can find a place like here, where it makes a bit of a bump, or over here also you can see there are only a few dots that looks a bit noisy. You have this new altitude processing tool over here, so you can go in and say, I don't trust the altitude information from the instrument. I will instead draw my own. And now I have drawn 3 dots here that will replace everything in the same interval. And that will be used in the inversion instead. So a simple but very effective altitude processing tool we have. So when you have processed your data, you have done an inversion, you want to go in and look at the results. So then we're going to go into a data model view. And it looks a lot like the data view, but it will have an extra plot for the inversion results. So now it's loading, and here you have it. So now, again, you have the data view. You can add a second data view if you want to in the settings. And then you have this model plot down here where you have your inversion results. They will again be synced with the data plots. So the models you have and the data are synced together on the timeline. And it then is easy to go back and look at the models and say, this doesn't look correct. Maybe I need to do some reprocessing of the data up here. In the settings, there is a model plot setting. You can easily change between resistivity and conductivity. You can edit your color scale, either by clicking edit over here. You can also right click on your color scale and press edit, and you will come into the known Workbench color scale editor. Nothing has changed with this one. You can go into model display, and you can actually change the width of each model. You can change the border, you can change the blinding of the models with the depth of investigation. There is a QC plot, so you can go in and add lines with residuals from the inversion or with altitude information that you put onto your model plot. And this has been done here with the red line that have this axis telling you the residual of the data, which means how well does your model actually fit your data. So when you have this, you can buffer around and see when it's below 1, it fits really well. But you can come to areas where it might jump a bit more. See if I can find an area. Oh, here it is one. So you can see here now the red line is going way above the axis actually. So here you can go in and see, if you click on a model, that the model and the data is plotted together here, that they don't fit together, especially in the early times. So then you will be able to go back into the processing and look at, is there a reason why it doesn't fit? Do we need to do some reprocessing, remove some data, give it a higher error bars, and do another inversion? It's also possible to interpolate your models like this, or you can keep it as bars, you can keep it in depth, or you can keep it in elevation. Then, when you have done your inversions and you want to compare models, they can be models from the same area but different inversion setups. It can be models within the same area or from different surveys. You can create a model view. So if I load a model view, here it will load all the models that has been put up. So now this is the model view. So it only has plots of different models. Same thing, you can have up to 3 or 4 model views. So you can go in and say, I will add a plot with more models. And here you can sit and compare models from different areas or from the same areas with different model setups and results. A pretty good overview of all the models you have. Last, we have the auxiliary view, which is a simple view with 4 plots where you can go in and get the overview of all the auxiliary information you have on 4 different plots. This can easily be exported for reporting. And it gives an overview of all the current temperature, topography, speed, GPS, altitude, laser information, everything that has been imported with the data. So now you have been shown the 4 different views. You can see up here they are still open. So you can have up to 5 views open at the same time, and you can easily go forth and back between the ones you are working with. The other thing is, if we have data information like we have here, going back and look at the GIS interface, it will actually show you with red dots where the models you're looking at are on the GIS. And there is now a blue dot moving above it, so you can see where your mouse is hovering above the models. The last thing I will show with also models you have from an inversion is that we have these two functions up here. So if you highlight a model down here, you can go in and say, I want to see the 1D model of this, like a line plot. So you have depth on the y-axis and you have resistivity on the x-axis. So here you can go in and see for one specific model how the resistivity varies with depth. If you want to have even more details on each inversion model, there is the model parameter that will open up a window that contains all the information we have for each model. So for the selected model I have here, it actually shows you the start model that has been used for the inversion, all the resistivity, thickness, and standard deviations, all the constraints that has been used. It also shows you all the extra additional information we have for altitude and current for each model. And it also shows you the finalized inversion model setting parameters that it ended up with. So this was an overview of views and the settings and possibilities it have. It really helps make a smooth workflow from processing of the data to visualization of the results in 2D sections. And it's very flexible, and settings can be set up by each user and will be saved for each view. Thank you.